Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. صدق الله العظيم. Firstly, brothers and sisters who are listening, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Guys who are married, put your hands up. Put your hands up high. Are you shy? And guys who are not married, put your hands up. And guys who never put your hands up, put your hands up. So there seems to be about a third of you from the men's side that are married, about 2/3 that are not married. And what we're sitting here for is to understand, Allah has said in the Holy Quran, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Can you all hear me at the back there? Yes, clearly? You can hear me at the back there clearly? Yes? Okay. Allah has said, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Give a reminder, for a reminder will benefit the believers. This is in Surah Al-Dhariyat, 51st Surah. Sometimes in Islam, you might have heard something before, but what you need is a reminder. And we all need it. We all need it. Right from the level of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all the way down to the last believer, we all need it. That's why Allah gave the hukm first to His Prophet, said, وَذَكِّرْ. You give the reminder. And there are reminders for the Prophet in the Quran as well. There are reminders in the Prophet, for the Prophet. And in terms of the Prophet's relationship with his wives, there are reminders for him. You look at the beginning of Surah Al-Tahrim. You say, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيُّ لِمَ تُحَرِّمُ مَا أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ لَكَ تَبْتَغِي مَرْضَاتَ أَزْوَاجِكَ. Allah admonishes in a way His Prophet and says, what happened is two of his wives had a bit of a rivalry to get close to him. And one of them made a beverage that he had. Another one said that there seems to be a smell coming from your mouth when he visited her. The one that said that just didn't want him to go and drink in the other one's house. Do you understand? So then the Rasulullah thought, what, from my mouth there's something that has got a bit of a smell. So he said, I'm not going to have that beverage again. And Allah said, oh Prophet, lima tuharrim, why are you prohibiting something which Allah has made permissible for yourself? Why are you doing this? And he had a reminder. He had a reminder in the Quran of what to do. And his wives had a reminder, if you look in Surah Al-Tahrim, of how they should behave in his household. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the reminder doesn't stop at any sort of person. It is from the Prophet ﷺ all the way down to the last believer. We need reminders. So this course is going to be a reminder for myself and for yourself about the things that we're about to get into. For the 2/3 of you, for the brothers, I don't know how many sisters. I'm sure there's going to be more sisters upstairs who are not married. Always is the case, isn't it? Guys, are you aware of that? Yeah. None of you are smiling. Maybe you've got secret wives somewhere. The thing is, the sisters upstairs, they're there, and they need to find their spouses. You downstairs, you need to find your spouse as well. But it's not just about finding one another, it's finding the right person. It's finding the right person. It's finding, like Allah has said, if you look in the Holy Quran, in Surah Furqan, verse number 74. Allah has said, Rabbana, say this. وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ, those people who say this. Rabbana, O our Lord, hab lana min azwajina, give us spouses. Wa dhurriyatina, give us children. Hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyatina. Qurrata a'yun, make our wives or make our husbands and make our children the coolness of our eyes. the coolness of our eyes. وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا, and make us the leaders of all those people who have your consciousness. Don't just make us people of your consciousness, make us the leaders of those people who are conscious of you. Now subhanAllah, what we're saying here is, oh Allah, give me a wife that will cool my eyes. Give me a husband who will cool my eyes. Keep my eyes cool. Cool in what way? Cool in two ways. One is you look at them, you admire them. Yep. MashaAllah. Yeah? But that admiring that you've got on the outside of MashaAllah, look how beautiful my wife is, look how beautiful my husband is. That admiring that you've got, it's got a limitation. It's got a limitation. You see this white beard here? Yeah, when I got married, there wasn't a single white beard here, I guarantee you that. Otherwise my wife wouldn't have married me. I'm saying, she would have probably said, where's your passport? Let me see what your age is. If you think that that's the extent of marriage, then by Allah, I'm telling you, you've got it wrong. Because the coolness of the eyes goes beyond the face and the body. It goes into the inside. And it is more important to be cool and satisfied, your eyes, with what's on the inside than the outside. What's on the inside than the outside. And with the children as well, you think children haven't come yet. You're getting married and you're saying, Rabbana hab lana min azwajina. Why are you saying that for? Because it depends on your spouse. Your spouse is going to be 50% perhaps of the genes inside your child. You're going to have 50%, she's going to have 50% of the genes or the effect of it. You'll see this. When your children get born, you'll see this. Some of your habits are going to be in your child. If you're stubborn and you see your child stubborn, you're going to say, hey, that's me, man. That's me. If you know, it's not just about looks. Okay, your wife is beautiful and you've got a beautiful child. That will also pass through. But what will pass through is your habits. Have you noticed that? Your habits will pass through. Kid is lazy. You ask the dad, what did you do when you were young? I was a bit, I was a bit of a rough kid. Oh, yes, well, that's your child. You see it. When I teach children, one of the first things I do is try and look at the parents. If the child is having difficulty in reading and he doesn't want to read, there's reasons. But you look at the father. You ask the father, what happened to you when you 30 years ago, 40 years ago, what happened to you? What was you doing? And they tell you a story. And you say, do you see any similarities between this one and that one? Between you and him? I'm not saying it all passes down, but there are things that will pass down. So the person you get married to, it's not just about the looks that will pass down to your children, it's about the inner habits that will pass down. And there's certain things in our genes, okay? Certain things in our genes that will pass down. Allah has created us all differently. You've got a woman who's very agile. That will pass down. That will go down. You've got a woman who's able to bear a lot of children. That will pass down. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? Tazawwaju al-wadud al-walud. He said, get married to women who are loving, greatly caring. That's wadud. They've got that. And al-walud is what? Al-walud is they're able to give birth to a lot of children. فَإِنِّي أُكَاثِرْ بِكُمُ الْيَوْمِ الْأُمَمِ. Said, on the day of judgment I will be proud. On the day of judgment I will be proud at the sheer number of my ummah on that day. Now, brothers, why did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam choose the qualities of these women that we should look for? Not just for women, it applies to men as well. You look at men. When a Sahabiya came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and she asked advice, she said, I want to get married to so and so. And it's a Sahih hadith. What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? He said, as for this one, لا يرفع عصاه عن عاتقه أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He said, this person, he does not put down his stick that he has from his shoulder. He doesn't put it down. What did the Prophet ﷺ mean by that? That this guy is a wife beater. This guy is a wife beater. He beats people up, and you get married to him, you're going to get beaten up. And as for the other one, he said, فَصَعْلُوك. He said, he's really tight. So you get married to him, you're not going to really have a happy life. Now this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You think about it. It is, what I want to mention here is that it is wajib. It is absolutely compulsory that when someone comes to you to seek advice of marriage for somebody else, that you have to be open about their character. It is wajib. It's a compulsion upon you that you declare things. You know something really bad about someone, and someone else has come to you for advice, and you don't say what's wrong with them. You are responsible in some way, because as you had the opportunity to talk about the truth and you stayed silent. You can't do that. Marriage is a serious matter. Come on, this woman is what Allah said in the Holy Quran, وَالْوَالِدَاتِ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ. Mothers should breastfeed their children. The women who have given birth to these children should breastfeed. Now listen to this. Allah didn't say zawjat. If Allah said wives should breastfeed, it's a different matter. Allah didn't say. He said women who've given birth to these children should breastfeed them, or women who are mothers, walidat. The quality of your wife will change. The quality of the husband will change. He'll become a walid. He'll become bearer of a child. You'll become a bearer of a child. He'll become a father. You'll become a mother. It's different. It's different if you go back and if you just think about your young days, you're just a boy and she's just a girl. That's all it is. When you get married, you're a wife, you're a husband. When you have children, you're a mother and you're a father. The three are totally different. Don't think they're the same. Because when you're just a boy and a girl, what do they want to do? They want to date one another, right? Date one another. Let's try and get that girl, try and get that boy, me and her, ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding, right? Bollywood, right? You see all those movies. Tu meri, tu mera. That's it. What's that about? It's about a false life out there that does not exist. And it's about no responsibility. What's it about? It's about the most beautiful girl they can find in the whole of India, or from the top 100 most beautiful girls who are actresses in the whole of India, from the millions that exist there. They're going to show you her. And from the most handsome man they can find in India, they will get him, or from the 100 most handsome men. And basically the guy, he's got no worries, there's no children in between, and he's basically, going to sing to the extent he can to try and get his girl. And the girl sings to try and get his man. The same in these Hollywood movies. Marriage is not a movie. Marriage is not a fairy tale. Marriage is about responsibility. And why is some guy can say in this day and age, and I'll be straight with you, some guy can say, so what if I don't take any responsibility, I'm going to use contraception. I'm going to stay away from having any, there's going to be no children between us. So we don't have any children. We've got no responsibility. I'll live in my flat, she lives in her flat. We'll get together whenever, we'll have a little cinema, we'll have a little whatever, a cup of tea, Costa coffee, whatever, and we'll basically go around the merry-go-round whenever we want to, by night. And that's it. We'll use contraception. What's wrong with that? This is the day and age we're living in that people are doing this. They're doing this up until the 30, 40. Some people now have decided this is an age has come, they don't want to get married. Have you come across those people? Go on, put your hands up if you come across those people. Go on. Yep, good. There's about almost 7, 8 of you. I've come across a lot of these people. They don't want to get married because they don't want responsibility. This age we're living in is an age of selfishness. It's a very, very selfish. You got your own phone, you got the internet, you got the technology, you got your own house, you pay your own bills, you look after yourself, you don't have to care for anyone. And you can literally take yourself in a flat or somewhere where you can just stay there and just cohabit have another partner somewhere else where you stay with them and you don't have to get married. There are people who are like that, and this age is coming that there's going to be a lot more people who will start leading those lives. So they'll say, what's wrong with it? Well, what's wrong with it is, if you think about it, what's wrong with it is what? You've got a person who has seriously created what? He's created himself a life where he's taken no responsibility. He don't care for humans. That's one wrong thing. Allah has sent us here to look after others. Number two is what? Number two is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you can do what you want to try not to have a child. But the moment Allah has decreed for you to have a child, you can't stop it. When his eyes are rolling up high, and her eyes are rolling up high, and basically it's like they're on the next heaven, it's only a moment of seconds that a child will be conceived. What's after that? Well, she finds out that she's pregnant. Oh my God, astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah now. Astaghfirullah now. Next thing is, if they don't want to show that child, they'll go for abortion. This society here don't care about life. That is a life. You know, one of the big crimes is wa'dul banat, is to basically bury, in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time, they used to bury children, right, alive, yes, bury their daughters alive. All these aborted babies will be there on the day of judgment. They'll be there. And they'll be saying, where's my father, where's my mother? And they'll be saying, Allah, what crime did I do that I was in her womb and he's the one that slept with her? You decided that I get born, and after that they decided to throw me into a dustbin. Unwanted baby. That's what they're called, unwanted. Aborted baby. What they should really say is, a murdered child. Because Allah uses the word murder for it. You know, in this society you say unwanted baby, aborted baby. It doesn't make me feel anything, there's anything wrong. But can you imagine if you said murdered child, murdered baby, murdered fetus? If you said that, you know what I'm trying to say? Because Allah said, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. For what sin was the child killed? Allah regards it as a severe crime. And they're going to have to see that on the Day of Judgment. This is a serious crime. If you think that you're here in this world and this is the extent of what you see is this world, then you can do what you want. Rasulullah said what? He said, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. Whatever you want to do, you can do when you've got no haya, no shame inside you. When you've lost shame, when you're not going to be embarrassed because people are going to question you. When you're going to be embarrassed, not going to be embarrassed because your parents are saying, what are you doing? When you're not embarrassed, there are people out there who have got, same-sex relationships. They're not embarrassed. Rasul says, "Fasna ma shi'ta." You might as well do what you want. There are people out there. You've heard. I'm not here to, right? I'm not here to sort of say things that are, these people. Look, we can get on with them. Right? I need to say this point since it's come up. Yeah. If Allah has said to me that if my parents become, or they happen to be Hindus, Allah said in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Luqman, verse number 15, He said, وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. If your parents as Hindus try and make you commit shirk, don't obey them in shirk, but make sure that you stay in a good companionship with them. Your companionship, your good manners, your good conduct has to be with them. If Allah has said that about Hindus, Hindu parents of mine, I have to be good to them, but I'm not going to obey the shirk. I'm telling you now that we don't have to accept the concept of being gay. We don't have to accept that. We'll be against it in our hearts, just like we don't accept shirk. We don't accept polytheism as Muslims. But we will have a good conduct towards them. Do you understand? We'll have a good. If Allah has said the worst of all people are those who commit shirk, the worst of all people, Surah An-Nisa, verse number 116. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bih, wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. So if Allah has said that, then I can still have a good conduct towards those people who have same-sex marriages. But I'm not going to accept the concept. I'm not going to accept the concept. I have the right of that, to hold that as my belief. And that's what we should teach in our schools. So what I'm trying to say is, people can do what they want. But Rasulullah said what? That if you've lost haya, you know this embarrassment, oh my God, if he finds out what I'm doing, oh my God, the culture, not just the culture, but the society, or my religion, or my people, or just myself. If you lose that haya, my parents, my friends, my children, if they see me do this, if they know me doing this, then how will I feel? If you lose that embarrassment inside you, Rasulullah said, you reach the stage that you can do what you like. That's a barrier Allah has kept in your heart. If you keep that haya inside you, Rasulullah said, wal haya'u shu'batu min al-iman. Both these hadiths are from Bukhari. Wal haya'u shu'batu min al-iman. Haya and having shame inside, that feeling of shame and embarrassment is part of a branch of Iman. There is the akhirah, there is the dunya. If you're getting married for this dunya, you're going to look at her looks, his looks. You will have no consideration about whether you get married or you don't get married. If you consider the akhirah, you have got shahwa inside you. You've got desires inside you. You need to control those desires. You're a man, you're a woman. You will look. You will have passion, desires. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, Ya ma'ashara shabab, those of you who are young. So those of you who can get married, you're young, you can get married. Man istata'a minkum al-ba' falyatazawwaj. Get married. If you can't get married, fast. Control yourselves. If you can get married, it will save you. It will make you lower your gaze better. It will help you to protect your private parts better. It's a means of doing that. Now, why was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us this? Why was he encouraging us? Because there are serious consequences of getting to the next world and not being married, and as a result, losing one's faith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said in one hadith that when the person who's committing fornication or adultery is committing it, his iman comes out of his body, hovers on top. Both the imans come out, it will hover on top. And then when they've completed their act, it will come back into their bodies. Can you imagine how serious this is? That they've lost faith. They've lost faith in Allah for a while because they're fornicating, because they're committing adultery. If a person believes, and I'm saying this very clearly, if a person believes that they can become like, I don't know, some of you heard, probably, I don't watch this, but I've heard of it, that on EastEnders there's this gay character. You've heard of that guy? Yeah? If you haven't, well, you've heard of him now. And he's supposed to be Muslim. Right? They're promoting this. Now, I've told you just before the thing, we won't hate the person, but we will hate the act. Let's make that very clear. If there are two people dating, they're Muslims, they're dating, they're not married, we won't hate them, we will hate the act. If there are two people who are committing a crime, we don't have to hate them, we will hate the crime. The same way is with all these people out there in this savage society of selfishness. We hate selfishness. As Muslims, we are not selfish. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has promoted between ourselves cooperation. Ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa. The third verse of Surah Ma'idah. Get together, help each other. Or the second verse rather of Surah Ma'idah. Help each other. Get together. On what? Promote what? Goodness, virtue, get together. Allah has said in various places of the Quran, you must be together. Allah has called us zawj. Now when you're a young person, and you're growing up and you want to get married, even when you get married, Allah has called you a half. You are a half. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're a half. Why has Allah said that? Adam alayhi salam in Jannah, he was sitting down and he felt there's something missing in his life. He wasn't fully happy with all of Jannah. And from his rib was created Hawa. This is in the Sahih Hadith. And then he found his sukoon. Allah has said in the Holy Quran, in Surah number 30, Surah Ankabut, verse number 21, He has said, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you may find tranquility, calmness by staying with her. And the same applies to the woman, so that the woman may find tranquility with the man. Allah has said in the Holy Quran, وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ, He has said those women who have entered the fortress. What does that mean? That the women who get married, women who will show their dignity and their pride and their honor in what? In securing themselves with yourself as a husband inside one fortress. And you will do the same thing. You are muhsineen. Allah has called you muhsineen. In Surah Nisa, Allah has called you muhsineen as men. Allah has called them muhsanat. That you have taken yourself in a fortress, she's taken herself in a fortress. You are together, bound together. And this nikah is a promise. It's a contract. It's a contract in front of Allah. Though you're not signing anything, you don't have to sign anything, but your word, the Muslim's tongue, is going to be held responsible on the Day of Judgment. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he said to Sayyidina Jabir radiallahu anhu, who said, Messenger of Allah, you said so many words. Once he said so many words, give me something really easy for me to hold all of this. He said, shall I tell you something? He said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you've asked me something great, but it's very easy for whoever Allah wants to make it easy for. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took his own tongue. Now do this with me. Go on. It's your own tongue, man. Come on, touch your tongue, geezer. Yeah. And now let go. You know why he made you do that? Because he made Sayyidina Jabir do that. And Sayyidina Jabir and others, when they would narrate it, they would make them do that because it's a tradition. You'll remember this, part of this, you'll forget other things I've said, but you remember that I made you touch your tongue and it's that bitterness on your finger. He said, hold on to this. Hold on to it. It's the Messenger of Allah. If I just hold on to my tongue, I'm able to do so many things that you've just said. He said, Thakilatka, sorry, it was not Jabir, it was Sayyidina Mu'adh. He said, Thakilatka ummuka ya Mu'adh. He said, oh Mu'adh, may your mother be bereaved of you. وَهَلْ يَكُبُ النَّاسِ. Is there any other reason why people enter into hellfire except that they never took control of their tongues? That on the Day of Judgment, because of their tongues, they will be going headlong into the fire, or he said nose first into the fire. Now when you're getting married, you're saying nakahtuha, qabiltuha. She said nakahtuhu, qabiltuhu. I have got married to him, I've got married to her. You're saying this. This is the tongue. Allah says, wattaqullah. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he would make a nikah, perform nikah, he used to read 3 verses. He used to recite 3 verses. The 3 verses, number 1 is the first ayah of Surah An-Nisa. And in there Allah says twice, ittaqu, be conscious, be aware of me. Wattaqullah, wattaqun nas. He says, ittaqu ya ayyuhan nas ittaqu rabbakum, or he says wattaqullah. Why is Allah saying be aware of me, be aware of me? Because Allah says you're only getting married through my permission. My permission. I gave you this right to get married. If I never gave you the chance to get married, you'd be sitting home. Have you come across brothers and sisters sitting home, proposal after proposal after proposal? Have you come across that? You know, there's some girls really beautiful, there's some guys who are really handsome, but they just can't get married. Have you come across that? Nod your heads, guys, come on. Yep. Why? It's not the qadr of Allah. It's not the qadr of Allah. And it doesn't matter how you think you look, because your girl is written for you. I tell people this. I say, you know, when a fisherman goes early in the morning and he takes his rod and he throws it into the lake, and he's sitting there nice and quietly waiting for that fish to take the bait. It's not him, it's not the fisherman that caught the fish. It's not the fisherman that caught the fish, but it's the fish that came and took the bait. Yes or no? Allah guides that fish to that bait. Allah makes that fish take that bait. Allah makes that fisherman be the owner of that fish and take it home. The same way you can be who you want. You can be the most sorted guy. I've known guys here. You know, you look at them, man. You know, you can, guy's got some class, man. You know the guy, the way the guy's gonna walk. You know, he trimmed beard. He's got the looks, got the brand names. You think, man, that guy's not gonna have no problems getting married. But those guys end up getting 29 and 30, 31, 32 sometimes. They first start off Nice girls come to say, And sometimes it happens with girls. I know some girls who in their 20s had a very good chances of getting married. And they just, for one reason or for another, you know why? Because the list of getting married, the list of what they want is a massive list. They want the guy to be educated, yeah? And sometimes, the list is not just their list, it's their list, and it's plus is the parents' list, and plus a bit of granddad's list, yeah? It's all combined together. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the granddad says, the putter has to know a bit of Quran, right? So then the mother will say, he better have some, he better have a good job, yeah. The dad's going to say, yeah, he better have a good character, or he might have to have this, and then the family will throw things in. He has to be from Gujranwala. He has to be from Sylhet, right? They throw this inside. So that's already on the list before before even she's got to the list. So what's her list now? Her list is he's got to be good looking, handsome, he's got to do things for me, he's better start, if I tell him to, he better allow me to go and chill out and this and that, and he better be my type of character, me and him get on like, what I'm saying, like, yeah? So they've got all this list, yeah? The guy comes and obviously he falls short of one of them. He's going to fall short. Maybe he's a Sylheti. Maybe he's a Punjabi. He comes and then he didn't have the right, you had a BA, but what's he got a BA in? He's not an architect, he's not a doctor, he's not even an accountant. He's got a BA in some genealogy or something like that. And nah, we don't like that, right? Someone's gonna say that, right? Her list is gonna be well, my mum's not happy, my dad's not happy, my granddad's not happy. Okay, out. What happens eventually is they start getting desperate. After 4 and 5 years of this, when they were on the high, the high horse, yeah? After 4 or 5 years, they start getting desperate. And when they get desperate, you know what happens in the end? Her list goes down to this. Has he got 2 eyes? Yes, tick. Has he got 2 legs? Yes. That's it, he's good enough to get married. 2 eyes, 2 legs, that's fine. I don't need anything else. I'm telling you, the mother will agree. The father will agree, the granddad who said, doesn't matter, whatever, get her married, even in India, Pakistan, whatever, Bangladesh, get her married. They don't care, because then it's too late. But sometimes, then what happens is what? Prospects will come, proposals will come, and then it's like, the first question is, how old is she? How old is he? Well, she's 32. 32, she's good looking, 32, she's not married. There must be something wrong. There must be something wrong. Why did no one take this girl? Why did no one take this boy? Have you guys come across that, yes or no? Yeah? You're all nodding your heads. You're all nodding your heads, and I'm nodding my head too. Why? Because people are too picky, too choosy. The thing in marriage is, if you want the perfect man, or if you want the perfect woman, then I know one place to go and get the perfect man and the perfect woman. That place is called Jannah. You heard of Jannah, paradise? Yeah? You know what I'm talking about? And if you want even better ones, go to Jannah to Firdaus. Yeah? You'll find the best, most pure people that never done anything wrong. Now, my friend, you are not perfect. Or are you trying to tell me that you are perfect? Because if you're perfect, then you shouldn't be in this world. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he got married, do you know that Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha, number of occasions she complained. She had issues with him. One hadith he says she went to her father's house. Rasulullah said, okay, if you got issues with me, I'll take you to your father's house. Who's her father? Sayyidina Abu Bakr. So he said, okay, so look at our Prophet. He said, okay, I'll go to your father. So he goes to the father's house, her father's house, his, father-in-law's house. He goes in there and he says, your daughter has said this about me. Sayyidina Abu Bakr is looking for the stick. And then what does Sayyidatuna Aisha do? She hides behind the Prophet ﷺ. She hides behind him. She came to complain about him and then she hides behind him. Now don't tell me if the Prophet ﷺ, if in his own house, his own wives, and I'm not just talking about wives, there were men who had problems, okay? Let me not make it biased here. There are men who, a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and she complained, and many women came, not women, many came to complain about their husbands. And the thing is, complaints will be there until the day of judgment. It's not about them complaining, it's about how you deal with the complaints. It's about how you deal with the complaints. And the first fact is, I'm not perfect. So when Allah has given me an opportunity for a person, I'm not going to look too deep. I'm not going to have a long list. If I do, I'm shooting myself in the foot. Because no one's perfect. Don't look too deep. The deeper and deeper you look, you're going to basically find something that you're not going to like, and then you're going to pull out. And maybe perhaps if you lived with that person, you could have lived a whole life with harmony. But don't also do the other thing. You know what most of our cultures do? Is that they do a 10-minute sitting. 10-minute sitting. So basically, they'll basically buy the sari, or they'll buy some good nice shalwar kameez, and they'll go all the way with £100 worth of ambala. How many people in the house? 4. How many days will it take them to eat this? 400. They'll probably die of diabetes by the time they finish it. Why are you buying it? Oh, izzot. my dignity, my pride. So anyway, put that aside. They've started off on the wrong foot. You don't buy £100 of laddu, my friend, because you'd be a daddu if you do that. So you've done that. You've gone there. You've wasted £100. They're going to throw in part of it in the bin. It's going to go in the bin because they won't be able to distribute it amongst even their family. Part of it's going to go in the bin. It happens. And don't tell me it doesn't happen. Now, they've started off, they'll bring all these things, and then, yes, and they'll all be formal, and you sit down there, and, it's like, who's the big man here? And they have some kind of guy called the wakil or the ukil, right? This is the Asian typical way of most of them looking for a marriage. So some guy's going to be the mediating between the middle, or the one who's been the representative. So, are you okay? Yes, he'll give you a cup of tea and give all the food, and they'll cook you 7 curries and whatever else it is. And then after all of that, when they've had the chat, the main chat is between the two families. So the two families are trying to get to know one another about the bride and about the groom, or the proposed bride and groom. But the actual bride and groom, they leave them in the room, or they get them just to see each other for no more than about 10 minutes. Put your hands up if I'm telling you the right thing. Put your hands up. Yep. Anyone else know anything different from you? Maybe half an hour, maybe 1 hour, right? Now you tell me, guys. Yeah, you tell me this. Yeah, it's a serious relationship. You cannot take this woman and dump her tomorrow. You can't take this man and complain to your father tomorrow and say, I don't want to be with him. When we have an interview, right? You know, when you've got a big company, serious company that's going to make a chief executive in their place, are they going to see the guy for 10 minutes? Tell me, give me an answer. Are they going to see him for 10 minutes? No. Are they going to just look at his face and say, Assalamu alaikum. Please talk. 6 minutes left. And by the time she's opened her mouth, it's over. And he's going to judge her by what? Her face. Just her face. And she's going to judge him by his face. Absolutely awful. I don't care how many people have accepted this and done this, it's wrong. Okay, fine, certain cultures, they might do it, and I'm not going to sit here and start giving you fatwas about other cultures there. But here in England, the amount of marriages that are in problems because the first thing that went wrong is the way they met each other. They never got a chance to know each other. There's nothing wrong in getting to know your wife through a mahram. So basically, for you to go to that house, for you to sit down, for you to then get to actually talk to her properly, she talks to you properly, with the presence of a blood-related person to her who will stop loose talk. Okay, so it's got to be an elder brother of hers, it's got to be, or someone who's a brother that will stop loose talk, or a father, or someone who will stop the loose talk. So he will be too embarrassed to say something wrong in front of her. Right? If that happens, then he can have as many sessions as he wants, and she can have as many sessions. And there needs to be certain things that they need to start asking. They must do this. Come on, ask about ambitions, ask about what you want to do in life, ask about, how you want to live together, ask about what character it is that you got to know about. Because if you don't find about these things, what do you want to do? Wake up tomorrow and start to find out that the beast inside this beautiful woman? That she basically is sleeping through the whole of Fajr, and you're basically trying to wake her up, but you're still there till Dhuhr? And you wanted your paratha in the morning, and you basically got some baked beans in the afternoon? Right? I mean, come on. Let's face it. If you really want your paratha, if you really fussed about your breakfast, some men are fussed about their food. Some women are fussed about their luxuries. Let's put it straight. If you're fussed about something, bring it up in the first instance. If you're not fussed about it, say, I'm not fussed about this. But if you really, some men, they may say they don't like a woman because of a simple thing. And some woman might say that. And if it's because of that, please explore these things in a mutual agreement with the mahram there. I'm not saying without the mahram. Don't go to the other extreme. The extreme of, going there and somehow to get her phone number off her. Somehow to get his number off him. Right? And then what's the next step? The next step is, take the phone out and no one see me. I can text her what I want. Facebook, I can see her, I can follow her. And some of this, I've come across some of this. I'm telling you right now, the dangerous thing that you can do is that when there's a boy and a girl and they're trying to get to know each other, whether it's from the day number one, or whether it's in between somewhere while the talks are going on, or whether it's near the end when they've just said, okay, we're now saying that they're serious about the actual, marriage. Whatever the case is, as soon as they start exchanging numbers before marriage, the one in between them is shaitan. Hadith of Abu Dawud, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La yakhlu rajulun bimra'atin illa shaitan thalithuhuma." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no man will get together in secrecy with another woman except that the third will be the shaitan amongst them. So he'll start very innocently, emails and whatever. You'll start very easily. I just want to get to know you a bit more. Oh yeah, I'd like to get to know you a bit more. Are you practicing sister? Yes. Are you practicing brother? Yes. And then it carries on. Next minute, the guy's heart is pounding, boom, boom, boom. And she's doing the same thing. She can't sleep at night. And they're basically texting each other till 1 o'clock in the morning, emailing each other, Facebook, whatever, they're just in love and they're, all that. Tu meri, tu. And what's between them? The shaitan. The shaitan is between them. Can you imagine what happens if they actually don't get married to each other right now? Something happens, what can go wrong? It's so silly, this society that we live in is so silly, yeah? She wants to get married to him and he wants to get married to her. And what happens in between? The shaitan comes in so different. He can come in so many ways. He don't have to come to you direct. He might go to your dad and another one might go to her dad. And you know how they break up the marriage? They finally sit down. They're going to get married. They're going to think about, the whole posse is there. It's like 2 mafia crowds are there, right? The whole room's all, tensed up. Right? You can just see the bosses of the mafia group are there, right? My daughter. He says, my son. He says, my daughter wants 50,000 pound cabin and mahar. And he says, he says, 5,000 pound. My daughter so cheap. My daughter cheap. And the guy basically starts off a fight over the mahar. I'm telling you, it happens so many times. Over the mahar. Now you Jesus, man, that you put your daughter and your son, poor guys, they want to get married. They don't care. In most cases, in this country, when there's a practicing girl and a practicing boy, yeah, they're happy with £100 mahar. They're happy with £1,000 mahar and some gold on top. They're happy with, minimal whatever. They're happy with that. The boy and the girl are saying that. They're shouting out loud. They're saying, hey, zip up. You, my daughter, you're not so cheap. And they're basically fighting over how much to put down because the society has to hear how much he gave his daughter away for. It could start off with gifts, sometimes start with gifts. So they sit at the table, it's like, okay, 2,000 and half a house. And plus a Honda and this and Panasonic and this and that and a new kitchen and blah, blah, blah. And the other one will say, okay, cut this off and cut that off. And then there's a big, massive argument starts. Shaitan can come in so many ways. So the process of this first is, that people need to get their niyyah right. People need to get their intentions right. Now, if I now look at if you just look at your notes, okay, look at the first part. Look at actually you've got the contents there. Look at page number 4. Sorry, page number 1. Sorry, page number 1 and slide number 4. Page number 1, slide number 4. You'll see there what is marriage. And then now the technical thing of marriage is there. I'm not going to go over that. But look, it says here in Surah number 4, verse number 3. Obey Allah. To obey Allah is the reason why you're getting married. To gain serenity, to procreate, to have children. These are the reasons why a person is getting married. Now turn over to the next slide. Slide number 5. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu was asked, what is marriage? And he gave this answer. He said, sururu shahn. Then he said, what's after that? He said, ghumumu dahrin. What's after that? Kusuru dhahrin. What's after that? Nuzulu qabrin. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said, the first thing is a month worth of happiness. Now some guys don't have a month worth of happiness. They have a year's worth of happiness. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. And some guys don't have a month worth of happiness. They have a night worth of happiness. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Yeah, let's be honest. But he said, just to rhyme it, he said a month worth of happiness. What that means is, it's a happiness that does not last forever. That thing that she's dreaming of, that thing he's dreaming of, that's not going to last forever and forever. Okay? He said, what is after that? He said, a lifetime's worth of responsibility or worry. Ghumumu dahrin. That's what marriage is about. Come on, we've all got mothers and fathers, yes? How many of our mothers and fathers are still like, I'm so happy with you, I'm so happy with you? How many of our mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, all are doing that? When responsibility comes over you, you ain't got no time to think about the beginning stage of marriage. What shaitan makes most people think of is the first stage of marriage, and he makes them imagine that that's going to last for their entire life. And the biggest mistake for most people is to fall in that trap of the shaitan. Marriage, the happiness and the blissful of marriage, of being with her and her being with him, is only for a little moment. Few nights, at the most a year, at the very, very, very most 2 years, or 3 years. How many are you going to put onto that? But after that, it's now down to reality and its responsibility. Sayyidina Ali said, after that, what's after that? Kusuru dhahrin. He said, your back will start to get bent. Meaning that old age will come. And then he said, nuzulu qabrin, the last thing, you will have to go to the grave. Now why did Sayyidina Ali say that? He directed the whole thing of marriage towards the akhirah. Towards the akhirah. If a person thinks about it, if you have a good woman who's righteous, who's pious, what did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say in a hadith of Muslim? He said, ad-dunya kulluha mata'. The whole world is a place of ownership and assets and things that belong to you. And the best belonging, the greatest belonging that a man can have is al-mar'atu salihah, a pious, righteous woman. If you've got a righteous woman, let me tell you the story of a righteous woman, yeah? And alhamdulillah, mashallah, some of us have ended up with mothers who are righteous. Some of us have ended up with wives who are righteous. If you've got a righteous wife, alhamdulillah, there's nothing more peaceful than having a righteous wife. Because she will look after you when you're inside the house. She will look after your affairs inside the house. She will look after your affairs when you're outside the house. She will protect your own dignity behind your back. حافظات للغيب بما حفظ الله. Allah said in Surah number 4, verse number 34, that these are فالصالحات قانتات حافظات للغيب بما حفظ الله. There are people who are, there are women who are forbearing, women who are steadfast, women who will protect the right and ownership and honor of their husbands behind their backs. This is the greatest thing you can have. To know that I'm outside the house and that my wife will still be looking after my honor behind my back. No man is going to enter my house. No man is going to enter my house without my permission. No person will sit in my house gossiping with my wife, backbiting me in my own house about me, while I'm outside the house. This is the greatest serenity, the calmness you can have. And the woman, if she ends up with a salih husband, she will know she doesn't have to worry about her husband going out and looking for other women or dating or being with other women behind her back. Now, this thing about polygamy, might as well discuss it, it's come up. Now, you know these notes, I make notes, but you know what, if I go through all these notes one by one, as it's all written, the way I thought of it when I sat down, it's not gonna happen. The reason why, because I like to have eye contact with you. The moment we start looking at notes, I'll look at it, inshallah, we'll check what we've missed out on, we'll try and get it all finished. But the moment we lose eye contact, we lose a large part of this whole course, the engagement that we're supposed to have with one another. Now, about polygamy, if a man is going to decide to get another wife, I would not suggest to you, I would really tell you as my akhi, my brother, please consult your wife or talk to her first. Get her agreement. In most cases, not in all cases, in most cases when men have done or have had another marriage without the consent of the first wife, and the first wife after that finds out and she holds a British passport, I have to add that on, yeah? She's got a British passport, you have got British bombshells in your house. You're going to have fireworks in your house. It's going to be November the 5th and you're Guy Fawkes. You're going to be roasted in your house. There's going to be a lot of things. I mean, there's guys who've lost their honor, their dignity, their trust. The biggest thing that, if you lose this one thing, the whole marriage is over. If you lose trust, listen to me carefully. If you lose trust, the marriage is over, or almost over, or the marriage is damaged so badly that you can't fix it. Trust is key to any relationship. If you were to ask her, tell her, consult her, whatever the case is, and then you went ahead by her knowing and so on, trust is still there. But if you do it without her knowing and then she finds out, it's betrayal. And what then happens is there's hatred. There's hatred that comes in because the trust has been broken. My brothers and my sisters, and sisters as well, please. There's cases that I've come across. There's hundreds of cases. If I tell you the cases, la ilaha illallah. Now there's cases that I know of there's some serious cases. A brother turned up one day in my masjid after Dhuhr prayer. And I basically, opened the door for him and he looked absolutely in tatters. And I looked at him, I brought him inside the masjid. I said, brother, are you okay? He said, no. I said, well, what happened to you? So he told me a story. For the last 3 days, he hasn't had hardly any sleep. He's hitchhiked from Birmingham to London. This was in 99 or something, 1999 when this happened. He hitchhiked from Birmingham to London, to my masjid in North London, in Whiteman Road. And I said to him, brother, what happened? And he said, he had a beautiful marriage. And him and his wife, they've been together for several years. He used to go out to work, she used to be in the house. Everything was fine. They had a mortgage, they had bills paying together, they had a joint account bank and all of that. One day he came home. He opened his door, he walked inside, the whole place was emptied out. There's no furniture in the whole house. Nothing. No sofas, no beds, no TV, no nothing, the whole thing ripped out or taken. So he went to he couldn't believe, he's trying to ring his wife's not picking up, his wife's not home. Could you imagine what's going through this guy's head? He then knocked on his neighbors and says, how come that my furniture is not in my house? They said, we saw a lorry, big truck that came and your wife was there with another man and they basically offloaded everything from your house. He thought, what? He went to his bank, he tried to take some money out, he had £12,000 between him and his wife, the whole 12,000 was taken, withdrawn. His wife just ended up with another man, gone. And he didn't even have the money to get down to London. That's how bad it was. So I gave him some money for him to eat and so on. And he went to his sister's house, somewhere in Finsbury Park, wherever. and that was the case. Now, there are horrible cases. There are horrible cases when people, I don't know what happened. I didn't get into the details of what happened. I don't look. People come to me with marital problems. You know the amount of marital problems, things I get. The one thing that I tell them, I'm going to tell you now is, if anyone comes to me with marital problems, even today, I'm going to tell you, please consult your local imam. You know why I'm going to say that? Because me alone, and the Mawlanas in the area alone, with all the different cases that come to them, we can't deal with them. There's just too much. We won't be able to do our own work. And some of the cases, you know what it is? You go deep inside and you either find out that it was an arranged marriage, or you find out that they never got to know each other before marriage, or you find out that they did get to know each other somehow, but most of the cases I know, they got to know each other before marriage. Most of those marriages are fine. I'm telling you this as an imam. Most of the marriages that the couple got to know each other properly in the presence of a mahram before marriage, the marriage, most of them are fine. Yes, some of them still have ups and downs, and some of them break up still, but not in comparison to the ones that are totally arranged. The ones that are arranged, especially if there is forced marriages, forget it. That's zulm. That is something that shouldn't have happened. That is something that the father, the mother, and the whole clan or whoever was there are responsible on the Day of Judgment. You force a girl into marriage by making her, put pressure on her. There's different types of force. One is physical force. Get a knife and put it to her throat. That has happened. They take her back home. We take you for a nice holiday. Shazia ji, a holiday ke liye jana hai na. She goes for a holiday. She gets over there. And this has happened to hundreds of girls, hundreds of them. Perhaps in the thousands. I dealt with a case here in Luton 12 years ago. 2 sisters were taken. They got my number somehow. I came all the way over to Luton and I saw them. And what was their case? They were taken for a holiday, 2 sisters. And when they got over there, next thing they found, their passports are gone. They're put into a room, and within moments, they were told, right, in a room with all the sisters around them, you better say you're going to accept your cousin in marriage. So what? My cousin? What? And you can kick as much Britishness as you want, right? These are Pakistanis dealing with you, bruv, or sister. These are Bangladeshis going to deal with you. There's no, the only time you're going to get your right is to go to the embassy. And it's horrible. Within hours, they forced them. And you know the amount of pressure they put on them. They said, one of them said that there was a knife that was shown. That it's going to get really serious if you don't say yes. And then after that, they just had to agree. They were told that if you get married, then you're going to go back to England. If you don't get married, if you don't say the qabiltuha, if you don't accept the words, then you're not going to see England again. So they had to do that to get the passports back. One of them told me how she basically really hit the guy on the first night. And I give credit to her. She beat the guy up on the first night. She scratched him good and bad. Yeah? But what happened is, they got to the embassy, they came back, and they were filing now for them not to come over. And they were in a crisis, an ordeal. I mean, how can fathers do that to their daughters? Just because, you know what happens? And I think this is a serious crime. The girl is born, the boy is born, and they're only what? They're infants. They're children. And the guy looks at his I don't know, cousin or something, and he says, 21 years time, your daughter and my son. And they shake hands on it. Now these 2 babies haven't even grown up yet. You don't know what character they're going to have. You don't know what faces they're going to have. And they made an agreement. And this happens. Let's not try and not talk about it. Yep. And I want people to put an end to this. Because it's a crime where people will end up on the Day of Judgment with serious questions by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with what they did. What is that girl going to do with that husband that she never wanted to get married to? Okay, she has a kid. She hates the kid. Kids grow up. She hates the husband. Arguments every single day. I know this because I've gone into these houses. I've sat there for hours. And what the problem was, either a forced marriage, an arranged marriage. I'm not saying all arranged marriages are bad. No, please don't get me wrong. Some arranged marriages, they work out. I know some arranged marriages with a 10-minute sitting. 10 minutes sitting they had, they looked at each other, they said, okay, fine, yeah, we'll accept each other. They got married, and some of them have worked out, and they do work out, and please don't get me wrong. But for the British culture, for the British, because we're different, guys, we're different. We're a different breed. We're a people with independence, with an independent mind. We have a certain type of mind. If you're thinking of going back home and you get married, and if you seriously want a wife to come home and to do your things that your mother did it, yeah, just cooking, cleaning, whatever, and a bit of running around, and you're ready to take up the responsibility of every time she needs a doctor, you're going to basically be there to be her interpreter. She's never going to learn English. Or she'll learn some of it. Now they've changed the law a bit. She has to learn some of it. But I know women who've come here for 20 years, they haven't even learned a single word of English, and they're proud of it. Bengali, Punjabi, they're proud of it, right? I know that. And can you imagine? Somebody said this to me once, right? And it's true. You think, if you imagine, right, an Englishman or an English woman goes to Bangladesh for 20 years. And imagine after 20 years they don't learn a word of Bengali. What are you going to say to them? Fagol. Bagale. 20 years they never learn your language. I mean, there's people who are proud like that. Now, if you're happy with that, if you're happy to run around for her every single time, she needs you. Anything wrong in your house with the children, with your wife, with any appointments, with anything you need to do with them, she's going to call you. If you're happy with that, but she's cooking, cleaning, everything, she's cooking you 5 curries, whatever, yeah. If she had permission to do sujood, she'll do that as well. Yeah, if you're happy with that kind of thing, yeah, I'm not saying they're all like that, but fine, get married. But if you want to have a wife that understands you, there's a big difference, because the way we're born and brought up, it has a big effect on your whole mind and mentality. Back home, like I've got certain employees, okay? I've got certain employees that are from back home, and I've got certain employees, and most of my employees are from here. Now, those employees that are from here, I can be straightforward with them. I say, listen, man, what are you doing here, man? What are you doing? Stop doing that. Takes me 30 seconds to get the message across. Well, the guy who's back home, I have to say, I'm going to say something to you. I hope you're not going to mind. No. Well, and you have to put the cushion after cushion after cushion, you have to put a nice big introduction before you give this much of a message. And it takes me half an hour to get the message across. There's a different mentality. And if you do it the other way around, you're going to upset them. And if they get upset, that's it, you've broken your relationship. Now with your wife from back home, there's going to be different way we have to deal with her, talk with her. She will have different emotions. She'll have different emotions. She won't know how to relate to you. And when you have kids who are British and she's from back home, she can't fully relate to them. She's never gone through the British system. She's never known how is it to grow up in a school where you see women women and men around you, and your boys and girls sitting next to each other. Most of us have been through this. She doesn't know what it is to get into a school where you have feelings for another person, but you must still, because your ustads in the maktab or the madrasa are telling you to try and control your gaze. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know about technology. She doesn't know any of this stuff. So how are you supposed to then, live a life of understanding? And the reverse as well. There's certain British girls that have gone and got married to Bangladeshi men or Pakistani men that have come over here, and some of them are good for nothing. They're vegetables in the house. They don't do much. They go out there and they find their own little friends, and that's all their life is. Now she can't relate to them. She has to run around and do everything. It's really difficult, and I'm dealing with these cases, but what I'm saying to you, please get it right. Find out what you're getting into. Now the best way to get it right is talk to people who have already got married, and they'll tell you their experiences. If you're thinking of getting married to someone from back home, then please talk to the people who have already done it, and for the British people like yourself who've done it, and ask them the issues, what have they faced. If you're happy with it, go ahead. If not, please don't make the move. Now the pressure comes from different angles. Like I said, you will have pressure from your parents, pressure from your culture. Now parents do have a lot of experience which you don't have. And that's one thing you will never ever have until you've gone through a 20 years of marriage, 30 years of marriage like them. Never ever challenge your parents on this. Never say to your parents, what will you understand? Because they've got a lot of experience. That experience you can't buy. You can't read in books. You can read as many books as you want. You can listen to as many lectures as you want, but experience you cannot get. until you go through it. And your parents have gone through it. So if they're telling you things that she's not a good girl, why not, mum? If she says to you because she has got a loose hijab, or she, for example, there's a lot of cases now, the cases are going more up and up, like she might be a Christian, right? There are these cases, right? The guy's seeing a girl and from university, whatever, and basically he's got love in his eyes, and inshallah I want to make her a Muslimah, and inshallah she'll become Muslim, but she doesn't want to become Muslimah. She's a Christian. But in Islam, according to Surah Ma'idah, verse number 5, Allah said, مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ, Allah has given permission. وَالْمُحْصَنَاتِ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ. Those women who are, but he said very clearly, listen to these words, muhsanat, those women who are chastised, who are those people, those women who have got some dignity and honor. They're not any loose women. Allah said muhsanat. So they're already women of dignity, women of chastity, women of that caliber. Those women from the people of the book. So what does that mean? That they actually have got some link to the people of the book. They are good Christians, good Jewish women. If you want to, you can get married to them. Now, when we've said this is only for the men to get married to women, not the other way around. Women can't do this with Christian men. Muslim women can't do this with Christian men or Jewish men. But even if you're thinking of getting married to a Christian woman or a Jewish woman, Sayyiduna Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu used to advise against it because of what he saw. And you can see it yourself. As an imam, I've seen it over many years. I've had cases. I've had loads of cases. Even recently, one guy came to him in the mosque just the other day, 3 weeks ago. He came and said, Imam, I said, I can't, I said, tell me, what is it? He said, my wife doesn't want me anymore. I said, why is your wife? He said, well, she's Christian. That's why I married her. I said, fine. So you had a nikah? Yes. Any children? He said, yes, one daughter. So I said, what's the problem? She just doesn't want me. She wants me to get out of the flat. She wants me to leave her. Now the simple question I asked him, within 2 minutes I came to the conclusion of why. I said, tell me, when you got married to her, what is it that you used to do? How was you with her? Did you used to go out with her? Did you used to have fun with her? He said, yes, we used to go out to the cinemas. We used to go out, go to certain restaurants. I used to take her out and so on. I said, do you do that now? He said, no. I said, well, you got your answer. She wants to change her husband. Her husband is not doing what she married him. She married a husband that would take her out to cinemas. She married a husband that would take her out for dinners. That's the pretense. That's the actual grounds you got married to her for. So she wants that. Now you're not giving it to her. She wants to find a husband that will take her to the cinemas. Now if you found a non-practicing girl or a non-practicing boy, for the girls I'm saying this, not to you guys. When I say boy, yeah, I'm not talking to you guys, yeah, please, yeah, alright. For her, if she finds that, for you, if you find her, you've got to understand this potential thing that inshallah she's going to become practicing. Inshallah she's going to start wearing hijab. Inshallah she will become Muslim, or inshallah she's going to become better than what she is. That does not work. I'm telling you, that does not work. The taqwa level, or the level of consciousness you have at the beginning of your marriage, that's what you've accepted each other on. So if you then go up in your taqwa, if you become more practicing and she stays where she is, she can turn around to you for the rest of life, and he can turn around to you for the rest of your life, sister, if they turn around to you and say, well, you accepted me like this. You get married to a sister without hijab, and you've accepted her without hijab. And she might have even said, okay, later on I'll do it one day. One day means any day. It could mean the day before she dies. Right? You married a brother without a beard, or without ilm, or certain knowledge you wanted, and he's promised you that he's going to start going on courses, he's going to start changing, whatever. Don't buy that. If you want a practicing sister, you want a practicing brother, get them practiced first. If they're not practicing, don't go for it. The most important part is that the practicing element is there if you can have it, and the best thing you can have. And the next most important thing is the character. Next most important thing is the character. Now, just before I go to the character, I want to say that Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab, he used to advise against the Sahaba marrying Christian women. Why? Because of what happens later on. Now, I'll give you a scenario. A couple have come into my masjid a few weeks back. This is just a few weeks back. And the guy, the family didn't want the boy to marry this Christian girl. But the boy says, no, I'm not going to agree. I need to get married to the Christian girl. If she's a Christian, I can marry her. And if that's the fine, then I really want to do it. Now, I put him on the scenario. I don't want you to hear this carefully. I've said to the boy, now he hasn't got a beard, fine, but he reads his salah. He hasn't got a beard, but he reads his salah. So I said to him, in front of her, I said, the nikah can happen. According to the Quran, fine. If your family fine with it, the nikah can happen, fine. But I said to the guy straight in there, I looked him straight in there, I said, listen, when your daughter's 8 years old, when your daughter with this woman is 8 years old, and she's not going to wear a hijab, and you want her to wear a hijab, and your wife hasn't got a hijab on her head, it's going to hurt you, brother. It's going to hurt you. And you know what she said? She was there. She said, no, he won't mind if if I'm not wearing it. And he said, it will. He said, it will. And they went off and they're having some discussion now, whether to go ahead or whether not to go ahead. What I'm saying to you, brothers and sisters, is if you seriously think about the consequences, you better think about it with your children in your eyes. Because you think about it. Do you want your girl to grow up 12 years old, put lipstick, put makeup, no hijab, go out there on the streets, meet men? Well, if you want to do that, then marry a woman who starts off like that. Because then you will basically come to that, you basically see that. You'll see that that's going to happen to you. But if you want your girl to have that in her life, your boys to be brought up, you've got to have a certain practicing element. She's got to have that. The mother has to be the role model. If she's not the role model, and it has to be from beginning of marriage. Don't tell me you're going to wait till the end, till part of the marriage to take place, and then you're going to wait for her to wear hijab. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, you're lucky. If it does happen, you're lucky. Otherwise, it won't happen. Now, when you get down to Let's move on with some of the slides now. If you go to slide number 6, about the intention. The intention is what? To get closer for Allah's sake. Family is important, but they just shouldn't make your soul, they shouldn't make your decision for you. You're making the final decision. It shouldn't be for entertainment. It's a big responsibility, shouldn't be taken lightly. Now move on to slide number 7. There's no such thing, I've said already, as a perfect man and a perfect woman. Now, there's an actual age and a mental age. What I mean by that is, look, everyone has this. You might be actually 22, but your mental age could be 29, could be 30. Yeah? Somebody who thinks far ahead, who acts like those who are 20-something, 9 in their society, then their mental age is 29 while their physical age is 22 or something. But some others, they're 22 physically and their mental age is 15. Yeah? The guy, he just can't get serious in life. He's still acting like a 15-year-old, he's already 22. So what you've got to do is, when you look at a potential spouse, you've got to find out what is their real mental age. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a massive gap between him and Aisha radiallahu anha. But Aisha radiallahu anha's mental age was much, much higher at a young age. You can already see her in ahadith when she's talking, when she's doing things, that she's not the 16-year-old that was there. She was already like the 36-year-old, like the 40-year-old. She was already thinking like that. She was already acting like that. Or 30-year-old. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could drop, if he wanted to drop it to her level, he could do that. So they got on. But not every time it happens like this. Not every time it happens like this. So it's important that you take that in consideration. When you have got certain experiences that the other person hasn't got, it might make a big difference. You need to find out if there are those things. The culture is a very important thing. Now, you don't have to get married to the same person of your culture. Islamically, you don't have to. But by your fitrah, you may want to. Now, let me make that clear to you. Al-jinsu yamilu ila jinsi. It's an Arabic saying. Every type of thing, whatever it is, will always find familiarity with its own type. It's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. Right? You have a group of people. I'll tell you this. You have a group of people. The more commonness they have amongst themselves, the more closer they come in groups. The more differences they have, the more apart they stay. Now, we have no racism in Islam, fine, but you give me a crowd of 1,000 people with different races, and I will guarantee you within an hour, people of same races will naturally come and meet each other, naturally will get closer to each other than people of other races. Now again, I'm not saying there's racism in Islam, I'm not saying that. But there is something where you will be, like for example, let me give you Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith of Abu Dawud, Al-arwahu junudun mujannada. Souls have been created by Allah as like troop marshals. Just as you're sitting in rows and you're in columns, the same way individuals are. He has said there are certain characteristics in yourself. If another human being has got the same characteristics, he has said they will find familiarity and they will like one another. And when فَإِذَا اخْتَلَفَتْ تَنَاكَرَتْ, he said when they have differences in their character, they have dislikeness with one another. It's absolutely natural. There are some people you just can't get on with. And don't blame yourself for it. Allah's created you like that, Allah's created you like that. You're just two opposite ends of the creation. That's how Allah's created you. So there's certain people you will not get on, and certain people you just meet them the first time and you think, man, that guy, I can be his friend, I can live with him, whatever. There are certain people like that. Now this is what? This is character. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? He said 4 things will be sought. He said you may have jamal, you may have beauty. Tunkahul mar'a li arba'. A woman is married for 4 things, and the same thing you can see in a man. If you reverse it, either li jamaliha, either for her beauty she is married, or she's married for her wealth, or she's married for her hasab, or her own her own family name that she's got. Okay, she's got a lineage, she's got a high class family, or he's got that. Either for these 3 things they're married, or they're married for deen. They're married for deen. Now, subhanallah, Rasulullah said the word deen. Deen has 2 meanings. Either you marry them for these first 3 things, or you marry them because they're practicing. Because they're practicing. Because they're religious. Because they've got religion inside them. That's why they get married. But he said, out of all of these, he said, choose the deen. Fakhtar ad-deen. Taribat yadak. He said, choose the deen, choose that last thing I've told you, the religious side of it. You will prosper. You will prosper. Your hands will get dirty with dust if you don't listen to what I've said to you. Now, the deen has 2 elements to it. One is the religiousness. In Arabic, deen means that, the religiousness. The other side of deen is character. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, in the hadith of Abu Dawud, Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih, falyanzur ahadukum ila man yukhalilhu. He has said, a man is according to the character of his brother. So you should look at whoever you're befriending, who his friends already are. Because his friends who already are, he will have the similar character to them. So the same thing about when you get married. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, fakhtar ad-din, he's meant 2 things here. One is religiousness, and the other one is their character, and it's very important to get that right. But when you meet your potential, what you've got to understand is there's one thing about performance and another thing about character. Please remember this carefully. Right now I'm performing. Right now you're performing in front of you, mashallah. In the last 2 hours you haven't said a single word. Alhamdulillah. If I walk away from here and I judge you by what you've done, I'll say, Luton, the people there, such nice people. They sat there without saying a single word. Yeah, mashallah. But that's not your character, is it? This is not my character. I can sit here and I can lecture you and I can tell you this about the deen, and that's my performance. My character is when I'm to myself. My character is when you judge me with all my actions, whether I'm in front of people, whether I'm not in front of people, whether I'm seen by others or not seen by others, whether it's a night time, whether it's the daytime, whether it's secrecy, whether it's openness, whether it's privacy, whether it's in public time. When you look at me and you see all my actions, then you will see character. That is why when somebody came to Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, and Sayyidina Umar said to a whole crowd of people, he said, does anyone know this person? And one person said, yes, I know him. And Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab said, okay, have you traded with him? He said, no. Have you had dealings with him in transactions? He said, no. He said, have you traveled with him? The man said, no. He said, have you lived with him as a neighbor? He said, no. He said, then you do not know him. You do not know him. If you don't spend long time with someone within their own, close to them, whether it's with transaction dealings, because you're going to spend long time with a business partner. You're going to spend a long time with the person you're traveling. You're going to spend a long time with a neighbor. If you don't spend that closeness, you do not know them. Now this sister of yours, this brother of yours, you do not know them. And the half an hour sittings you're going to have, the 1 hour sittings each time you come to the house, you will not get to know their character. So what do? You have to take reference from the people who know them. That is a sunnah. That is a sunnah. That's why they came to one another. They went to one Sahabi went to another Sahabi. The Sahaba came to the Prophet ﷺ, Sahabiyat came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they said, I want to get married to so and so, please tell me about them. And Rasulullah ﷺ, on these occasions, he told them about their character. Another hadith I said to you, one of them does not put his stick down, meaning he's going to beat you up, woman, if you get married to her. If you get married to him, he's going to beat you up, woman. And the other one, he said, Sa'luk, he says, he's tight. He's not going to spend on you. He talked about character. He talked about not their performance. The performance was when they see that woman, what they're going to say, inshallah, inshallah, how much mahar do you want? Oh, inshallah. Smiles, cheerful faces, to say that you're going to give this, and agreements and so on. But that's not character, that's performance. So don't get fooled by the two.